Up in the mountains. New Orleans, Cape Cod. Oh, that's good. Okay, so another question. How long have you been trading? Too long. Tyrone, you're about to turn that around. So I see we have a bunch of hardheads in here. Embarrassed to say. Okay, so oh, nice. Hawaii. Oh, it's early. It's still dark in Hawaii, isn't it? That's my brother-in-law lives there. All right, so bunch of you hardheads that are still working at your trading and maybe haven't had the success that you'd hoped may have identified that there's something very wrong with you, and you've sat down and you've held your head in your hands and in anguish and thought, what the heck is wrong with me? So that certainly hasn't escaped us. And I know this because that was me. And I did it almost every day. And one of the things that, I kind of had an epiphany at one point and kind of started turning things around. And one of the things that occurred to me was that I don't have the qualities to, or the characteristics to trade like a machine, to turn off my emotions, to be someone that I'm not. I tried and tried and tried for many, many years. So I decided there was something wrong with my brain, and my brain just wouldn't allow me to do the things that I was hearing I was supposed to be able to do. So I went about creating something that was less dependent on me being different. This is where the second brain idea came in, and we'll be expanding on this more. Those of you that have been around for a while, you're familiar with bunt trading. We've been what we call bunt trading for a long time, but bunt trading is a lot more than just taking a few ticks and getting out. Okay, there's a lot more to it, and you're going to be hearing about that more over the next weeks or months. I needed a second brain to help me make decisions that I couldn't make with my regular brain. And so I developed a system that acted as my second brain. So I didn't have to have all the problems that I had before. So we're going to expand on that in the coming weeks and months, so that just so you guys know and understand where this second brain thing has come from. We've got a disclaimer about everything I'm going to talk about today. I'll make it easy for you. Don't believe anything I say and never trade with live money. That's my advice. There. Disclaimer done. No, really. Um, you've got to put on your big boy, big girl pants to be traders. Make sure you understand that uh, you can lose a lot of money and probably will, and that you should only lose money that you can afford to lose, and on and on and on. Okay, so we're going to start trying to do these risk disclosures more often because the NinjaTrader has asked us to make sure that we do that since we're a partner with them in the NinjaTrader ecosystem. All right, so a little bit about me. Um, I kind of been in the same place as a lot of you, and I traded for not as many years as a lot of you, but more than a lot of you. I traded. Well, I started out as a contractor. I was pretty good at it and made a decent living, but uh, I thought there must be an easier way because it's an awful lot of work. And so I started trying to learn how to trade, and for 7 years, I guarantee you I was worse than you are or ever have been. I promise you. I know that you don't believe that, but I was. Then I had a kind of an epiphany, and we'll talk about that in another session. We actually talk about it every week in our weekly mentoring sessions for our VIP. We have a VIP session called Aha Moments, and I start sharing with people the things that occurred to me. One aha kind of leads to another, leads to another. It starts opening doors, and you get a new perspective, a new realization on what it takes to be successful. And since I was lucky enough to have gone through that, um, I was able to finally shed the contractor role in my life, just start trading full time, and started developing indicators and a trading system to help some of the other guys that I was trading with at the time. We were all a bunch of failing traders, but they started noticing that my trades were not sucking so bad anymore, and they wanted me to teach them, and that was the beginning of the development of all of this. Right. So we talked about on Thursday. We talked about, and I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to go over everything we did on Thursday. I'm just going to kind of do a little quick reminder and maybe get some people up to speed that weren't here on Thursday. We've got lots of different ways to trade and to place trades, and a lot of it starts with a trend or trading within a trend. Uh, and trends have typically a beginning, middle, and an end. And so we looked at how that happens. And generally, a trend's going to start with the value traders by doing a lot of analysis on the whether it's the industry or whether it's a particular company or whatever. They will look for the valuation of a company, and they'll look to invest in an industry or a company, or it could be anything. But it takes a lot of study to find an instrument or an asset that is undervalued. Okay, so they believe it has a higher value than what it's trading at. And so they'll invest in, buy that as a trade, and then hope that the rest of the industry realizes that it's undervalued and the value starts to increase. Okay, this can lead to, and usually is the bottom of a trend. This can lead to a regular trend where we have a series of higher highs or higher lows, or the reverse. So trend traders are typically going to wait until the value analysis kicks in and creates that trend before they get in on the trend. Okay, so value guys are the buy low, sell high guys. The trend guys are more of the fundamental. More of the technical traders. And then at the extreme end of that trend, we're going to find the momentum traders. Okay, and the momentum traders are the ones that see that a trend is potentially becoming exhausted. They have all of the information they need, but they believe that buying low and selling high is not a good way to make money because it takes too long, and it really is kind of an older way of doing things when the markets move much more slowly but steadily. Now they're much more erratic, so and move much more quickly. So the momentum traders are looking for that final area where price is really pushing hard just before exhaustion sets in. Momentum traders want to buy high, sell higher. They're going to do it much more quickly than any other type of trading, than the value traders or the trend traders. The momentum traders are looking for very quick trades to get in and out of the markets quickly so that their money is safe and put away. Okay? But it's all relative. The momentum traders are looking for um, a relative push in the market. They don't have necessarily a percentage of the market increase or a price increase or a number of amount of volume being traded. They're looking for a relative increase. So what they're going to be looking at is a breakout inside. You see, we have a nice trend here, right? We have a very nice trend. Very difficult to trade for me as a with my mental afflictions, unable to manage my emotions. A trend like that would drive me crazy. I would feel like, oh, I'm winning. Oh, I'm losing. Oh, no, I'm losing. Oh, I'm winning again. Oh, I'm losing. And it would just beat me to death. So I can't trade that trend. But there are great opportunities for us inside that trend. So you'll notice that what happens is we start breaking out of these sideways channels. Now, these channels can be anything from lack of interest. Nobody really wants to trade at this price level. It can be accumulation or distribution by the big boys that are manipulating the markets, and they're gobbling up as much as they can at a price that they feel like is a bargain, and then they manipulate the markets just enough to get things started. And then the momentum traders kick in because they've noticed that we're breaking out of these channels. The momentum traders want to buy it high and sell it higher because they believe it's going to do that. And now these momentum traders, they're not guys like you and me. These guys have serious money and serious power, and they run these supercomputers, and sometimes they even get in fights with each other. But they have the ability to move the market. And simply by them buying up at on the way up, that tends to drive it even further up. Okay, so and so then but they only want to do it at a point to where there's still lots of apparent buyers up a little higher, because it does get a little risky. They want to jump in and jump out and make a big profit after pushing a larger number of contracts, but still having the ability to manipulate the markets. They're also looking for and expecting momentum, even though if they buy in down here and they sell up here, the momentum is likely to increase because of those people that are still buying because of this big push up. This creates a tremendous opportunity for us. Okay, so let's look inside of one of these. Price is channeling, right? You see price channeling, it's got no interest in it. Could be accumulation or distribution. The buying sentiment begins to increase. We start breaking out of this channel. All right. Momentum traders get triggered to buy up as much as they can, as fast as they can, causing a sudden shortage. Okay, this is driving up prices even higher over the short term. Buyers begin to become exhausted, but there's still enough buyers involved to continue to push price up. This is when the momentum traders want to dump everything as fast as they can before all the buyers are gone. Okay? This sudden oversupply will suddenly, after the other buyers that are still standing around, waiting to get taken advantage of, they'll still be buying, but the market will be oversupplied. And what does that do to price? Drives it down. Okay? This is key to understanding how to make money with an edge in the market. You have to understand what's going on. Okay? This whole thing gave me an an idea. There's something going on in the markets here that I can exploit just simply by paying attention and taking measurements of what each bar is doing and measuring each tick inside each bar. Uh-oh, how come this turned black? Well, the text in here used to be white. It turned black. I hope you can read it. So what's happening here is momentum traders has caused this unnatural increase, right? Because they're in this buy zone. We're breaking out of this channel. They're in this buy zone. They're going to buy it inside this zone here. By doing all this buying, they're going to increase the amount of people who are suddenly like, oh, I got to get in on this. As soon as they do that, that's when they get in this sell zone here. This is like a freight train, okay? They've sold, but there's still so many buyers wanting to jump in on this up here, willing to buy what they're selling. They'll continue, and this momentum will push up a little bit. It's very important to these guys to get out down here because they know after this, exhaustion is going to be setting in. Okay, all of the buyers are going to be done. The price level has become exhausted, and momentum has actually, even though the freight train is moving this way with price, momentum has already shifted. And that's what it looks like to us every day in the trade room. Okay, that's how we know what's going on. That's how we know we have an opportunity. Those are the indicators that we use to see exactly what's going on by reading every tick inside of every bar. And not just the ticks, but how they come into the bar. Okay, I'm going to talk about this as we go on to today. All right, so it looks like this on a trading chart for us. Now, just because we get an indicator on a chart, that doesn't make it a trade setup. Okay, we have a lot of people that believe indicators tell you what to do. Indicators do not tell you what to do. Indicators do one thing. They indicate that a condition that you want to be alerted to has occurred. Okay? This speed tick, that's a condition that has occurred. This rock star, that's actually three conditions that have occurred at the same time. Okay? This does not make it a setup. None of these necessarily make it a setup unless the rules say that it's a setup. So we've had very, very defined rules for trading these. Okay? Some of these were set up, some of them weren't. But you can easily see, if you're looking, you can easily see where we have a confluence of several indicators at the same time. Price does something very predictable. Right? So that's a typical chart that we use. This would be considered a rock star trade setup here, and we're going to talk about that in more detail, and I'm going to take questions from you today on that and take plenty of time. Now, what does this look like? This looks like, this is what it looks like in real time. Yeah, I'm just going to use the slider here. I'm not going to turn the sound on. Here's a trade that we took the other day. Notice when the Rockstar printed. It printed on the open of the bar. That's where our decision is made. We've qualified this trade based on our rules and based on a confluence of indicators. And there you can see this is pretty much what happens in the trade room as we trade. People start posting their results in the trade room. Then I'm coming through and I'm discussing what the conditions were and why that worked out to be a good trade for everybody. So when you're in the trade room, you get the opportunity to hear me give you a heads up to a trade, and then potentially, I'm trying to find a good one, potentially give you a little tutorial at the end of it if you didn't understand. But there's another one. See how often these happen? As far as it's exactly what I'm going to show you. It's exactly what I'm going to teach you how to trade and how to recognize them. We've taken a lot of the work out of it for you by having these indicators reading every single tick inside every single bar. I think this is just this is a straight up speed tick trade. Didn't even need a rock star on this one. Very important for you to understand and watch where these indicators print and when they print. Notice this indicators, all three of these are printing on this bar because we're measuring everything inside the bar. This doesn't happen a bar or two or three later. There's a Rockstar trade setup. Those of you that trade with us every day, you look at this, you go, oh, and you want to get into this trade so bad you can't stand it. All right, so this is what I'm going to be talking to you about today. This is what, if you want to see that exact video, there's the address for it. If you didn't notice that, it's on YouTube. Okay, so how many of you guys have been trading and you've learning a trading system, or you've been in a trade room, you bought a trading system, you've studied some videos or a book? Yeah, we're being recorded. We'll send it to you, Paul. And so you place in a trade, or you're thinking about a trade, and you've got all these different indicators that you have to look at all at once to determine if this is a proper trade setup. That's what I struggled with for a long time. So I would look at a setup and I'd go, well, I think this is one. So I might or might not, depending on how scared I was or how I had been doing that day or how bored I was or whatever. I may or may not enter that trade because maybe I just wasn't sure. But let's say that maybe one of an indicator suggests, yes, you should be in that trade. Well, that's an indicator. Right. Exactly. Whether you're in it or is this a setup? Exactly. So you got an indicator that says, yeah, that looks pretty good. Well, how much confidence do you have getting into a trade because an indicator said to get into that trade or qualified it as a setup? You might over time develop confidence. But what if you had a whole bunch of other indicators that had totally different information, came from different data sources, and they all agreed with your first indicator. This would be considered a group of non-correlated indicators. Okay, they have nothing to do with each other. This particular group of people have different backgrounds, different life experiences, but they all come together and agree that something exists. Okay, they're basically, all of them are looking at the same problem, but from different angles. Okay, so that's exactly what we're doing here. We're taking a problem, knowing when we have an opportunity to take a profitable trade, which is really all we need to know, right? In trading, that we don't need to know, we don't need to make a lot of money on every trade. We just need to be able to place trades with confidence that we have an edge. Okay, if you're trying to, if you're ignoring a strong edge in trading so that you can make a lot of money on each trade, you may be trading for 35 years and not have a whole lot of luck at it. Okay? You cannot ignore an exploitable edge. And this is exactly what we have here. All right, we've got, look at this real quick. This indicator here, where it colors the bars, this is our Mometer indicator, saying that we have strong momentum busting out of this range here, right? So the bars start dark and then start getting lighter as the momentum is getting stronger. All right. Now we also have an overbought condition. That's this pink outline, telling us that price is likely to be exhausted because it's overbought. All right. We have our speed tick saying, hey, this is probably the momentum traders doing their thing, because the orders are being processed much more quickly than us little retail traders can do. They have these supercomputers that are either next to or inside the exchanges, and they can do stuff like this that we can't do. But we can watch the orders being processed and say, hey, when they start processing at a certain rate, highly unlikely that retail traders are doing it. Therefore, it must be the momentum traders, the big boys, the smart money. Okay? So they're manipulating the market. Now, we don't know when they're going to get in and out. So we look at the way that momentum, or the way that the orders are coming in. So we'll see a lot of hard buying, and then we'll get up in here and we'll see buying, selling, buying, selling, buying, selling. The sellers are waiting up in here. When we get a churning activity like that, we're going to talk about all of this a little bit more. Then we print this pullback alert saying that the buyers were well in charge in the beginning, and towards the end of this bar, the sellers were getting very active. And then, of course, we have our Rockstar trade that also agrees, and down we go. Now, we also had the fact that price opened outside of this zone, which is a channel. Okay? So if it's outside, it's also expected to be exhausted up in here. Right? So we have lots of confluence, lots of agreement is what we're looking for. So when we have that, what we've done, instead of, just having it where you have to read it, which we've done for years. I've done this for years, where I traded it just like this. And I really, personally, because I've been doing it so long, it's kind of like driving a Model T, and you're driving your brand new Model T, right? And you think this is the best thing ever. This car works great. It doesn't need any improvements because it gets me exactly where I want to go, and I'm happy to death with it. But we keep making improvements. So even though I didn't think it was necessary, because I was trading quite successfully with what we're doing on the left here, I did combine several indicators And when we have a confluence of those indicators, now we're just using that and printing a rock star. Even though I thought it wasn't necessary, it ended up being kind of like the tail wagging the dog kind of thing. It has been a tremendous success and well received by all of our traders. And to be honest, I'm using it more than I ever thought I would. Now, we're going to talk about our indicators, each one individually. Okay. And I am leaving the chat open today. I usually cover it up because I have a kind of a set presentation. I want to make sure we get through it all. But I have it uncovered today so that as I'm going through talking about these indicators, if you have a question about that indicator, go ahead and ask it, and I'll stop and answer your question about that indicator. If you ask me a question about anything else, I'm going to defer you to the end when I'm going to take questions, and we'll stay as long as you want. Okay? So let's talk about some of the indicators. Now, I've grouped them together to kind of give you an idea on what they're reading and giving us a heads up. Okay, so we're going to look at our order flow indicators first. Order flow is really important because that helps us to anticipate that exhaustion that we're looking at. Okay, I want to read and understand the orders that are being processed, not level 2 orders that you see on your dome. Okay, because people can place orders and take them off all the time. And there's a whole lot of people that trade level 2, but there's also a whole lot of people that, excuse me, that play games with level 2. You can sit there and you watch your domes, and or you can open a level 2 window on your NinjaTrader platform, and you can watch, and you see these big chunks of orders that just show up at a price level, and then they disappear. And then they show up again and they disappear. So those are people that are trying to, or companies that are trying to manipulate buyers into doing what they want them to do. We're not too interested in that. I'm only reading what's going through the market. So that's a time and sales window that we're going to be using to identify the flow of orders that have been processed. Okay. So the first one we have is our speed tick. You remember we just went over this, and as we're getting this push up, we want an idea on when the big boys, the momentum traders, are buying or selling, either one. I just want to know that they're active inside this bar. I don't care whether they're buying. I don't care whether they're selling. Because the fact of the matter is they're going to be in and out so fast, it doesn't really matter. I'm more interested in what they're doing here so I can anticipate what's likely to happen next. Okay? So that's what we're doing with our speed tick indicator. Now, the speed tick is based on a histogram that I had created way back when. Almost back when 6.5, NinjaTrader 6.5 was out, I was working on this histogram, and I sent it off to a programmer and said, here's what I'd like you to do. Basically, since you can't read time and sales windows very well, they move too fast. No, this is not a setup, Tyrone. We'll talk about those. I'm talking about indicators now. And indicators that are going to help us to identify potentially good areas for a setup, but not in and of itself. Not one indicator creates a setup. You're always going to have several, okay? So this is the indicators used to help us identify a potential setup, okay? And we're going to do setups after this. After I go through these indicators, I'm going to do a whole thing on the trade setup and how to qualify it and how to trade it, okay? So we created this histogram, and when the rate of orders going through are above a certain rate, they're going to generate a speed tick. Okay? So that's what we're seeing here, is that this line is basically like a speedometer. Okay? This is a self-adapting instrument now. It didn't used to be. You used to have to tune for every different instrument, but now it's self-tuning. If the speed increases above this line, that suggests, this line tells us, you know what, retail traders can't really trade this fast. So when the speed increases above this line, we print the speed tick. You'll notice we've now crossed this bottom line and we're into this second line. Okay, that's our second. Oh, sorry. That's our second threshold level. What this second threshold level is saying, that be careful, because this could be an area that is outside of our sweet spot. It could be something that's caused by a news event. So be careful. Okay, so it's going a little bit faster than we might expect the momentum traders to be pushing price. Then we have a third line, which if we go beyond that, then we're just probably not going to trade it, because the orders are coming through so fast. We may have multiple HFTs or momentum traders or whatever that start fighting each other, and the momentum or the speed of the orders being processed is way beyond our ability to do it successfully. So we just kind of ignore that third level. Okay. So that's our speed tick. Now, we also have, I noticed when I was working on this histogram, that relative speed increases also created a pullback. Now, when I say relative, I mean relative to the previous bars on the histogram. Okay, so when we had a sudden increase, and maybe that increase was beyond the extreme, the threshold level here, but maybe it wasn't. Notice that we didn't even get close to it here to generate a speed tick, but it was so much faster than the previous bars we generate. So this is acceleration, essentially. So I noticed when we had high acceleration, we also got a pullback. So that was kind of a nice residual indicator from doing the work on the speed tick. We talked about the pullback alert already, the dots. Let me show you what's going on inside those dots. We're reading every tick that comes in. Now, you may look here and you see two identical bars, right? You're looking at a trading chart, and maybe you're looking at something like this, and you see two bars that are identical. Now, when you look back at a static chart, all that tells you is high, low, open, and close. That's it. Yet there may have been just hundreds of other pieces of information inside that chart that could be very useful to find an edge. For example, let's watch the information come into the bar on the left. Pretty much just kind of comes in, the ticks come in, runs up, and then pulls back. Nothing really interesting happened there. Mostly the buyers were in charge. A little bit of selling went on. Nothing really special happening. Let's look at the other bar. Ticks are coming in. They're coming in real fast for buyers. And all of a sudden the sellers and the buyers start fighting. This is a churning bar. Okay. This is where this tells us that the sellers were sitting around up in that area waiting to jump in and get involved and start pushing price down, because this is a value area for them. I figure if price gets up beyond this area, it's time for us to start selling. Okay, so the buyers, the momentum is still there, but the sellers are highly interested. This is a churning bar. When we get a churning bar like that, that's when we print on a chart. That's when we usually are going to get a pullback after this type of churning activity inside these bars. Okay, so there's another area of confluence for us to be aware of. Okay, now we have our divergence indicators. Divergence is probably one of my favorite. Dwayne, the number is simply to help you verify. It could be anything. It's just a symbol. We use the numbers for symbols. There's three different types of churning that we're looking at inside the bar. All of them work very well. They're all inside the indicator. You can decide which ones you want to use. The number doesn't do anything but other than help make it easier to see. I could take the numbers out and just have a colored dot. But I mean, it could be a symbol. It could be a chicken. It could be anything. Just so you could tell the difference between them if you were inclined to. Okay? Batman. All right, divergence. One of my favorite tools. I knew about divergence a long time ago when I was struggling, but I could never make it work. Or I never knew if I had done it right. Or if it was a hidden divergence, or if it was um, positive or negative or what. I never could figure out divergence, and so I gave up on it a long time ago because I probably spent an hour or two trying to learn it and realized I don't know what I'm doing. I need something easier. So I moved on, but after working on all of the speed tick and other things, I came to where I wanted to find. I traded just a speed tick for a long time. This and then included the obos and support and resistance, and did quite well. It was the beginning of the system, but I'm always looking for information that the market is giving us that's there. We just got to decide to look for it. I'm always doing that, trying to find how to make the edge even better. Okay, and so I decided, okay, this speed tick thing is working great. What else is out there? What is in the markets right now that could make this even better? And divergence was that thing. So I actually wrote up my own um, scenario, divergence scenario, and I sent it off to a programmer and had him write it and him do it. And we worked back and forth for a few months on that, and came up with my own algorithm for divergence. And so we started applying that to a momentum oscillator, and it worked awesome. Just awesome. Now, so what is divergence? Divergence is when price and momentum get out of sync with each other. Typically, when things are just kind of rocking along, price and momentum will be in agreement with each other. But when they get out of agreement with each other, there's an opportunity for us. The secret of divergence is this. When price and momentum get out of sync with each other, price will typically change directions to follow momentum. Okay, that's very important. So when they get out of sync with each other, it's hard to see it with the naked eye unless you train yourself to do it. Most people aren't willing to do that, so they just kind of blow divergence off and hope to find some other magic bullet out there. And it's a good bit confusing, and you just hardly know where to look, and there's lots of lines, and trying to figure it out. And so I realized that divergence is exceptionally strong tool, but I've got it because my brain is too dumb. I need to add it to that second brain to just point it out to me when it happens. So we've got two indicators that we developed. One's called the flash, which was the first one, and we created a trade setup called the speed flash, which had a speed tick on this bar. If this bar opened with the flash, then we had a speed flash setup. This is the McDiver. So we also had a speed Mac trade setup. Essentially the same trade setup, just dependent upon which version of the divergence we were having. Okay. So we traded these for a few years. Everything's fine. I'm thinking we don't really need anything else. This is working great. But because of the algorithm we're using is so powerful and works so well, I decided, you know what, let's add some more momentum oscillators and let people decide for themselves. So that's our Super D. We've got 7 different oscillators, momentum oscillators inside the Super D, and it'll give us a signal and it'll tell us how many of the oscillators are showing divergence. These are included in this Super D. The flash and the McDiver are now included in the Super D. Yet we still keep these on our trade room charts because we've all become accustomed to them, and we really like those two work really well. All right, so determining when price is getting exhausted is very important. In fact, it's one of the very first steps of qualifying a trade setup. So what we're looking for is an overbought or an oversold condition. You can do this with a momentum oscillator and put it on the bottom of your chart. It takes up a section of your chart. I decided I don't want that on my chart. I don't need when price is not overbought or oversold, I don't care. So I don't want that whole oscillator on my chart. I only want to know when price is overbought or oversold so that I can anticipate the potential for exhaustion. All right? So it just prints right on our charts now, right where we're looking. It's a yes or no thing. Not a, oh, it's kind of oversold or kind of overbought. Nope. It either is or it isn't. Momentum. This is our Mometer indicator. It really helps us to, particularly people that are new to what we're doing, the very first thing you want to see is strong momentum pushing out of a range. Okay? And so we could be in a range and then suddenly we have a big drop like this. That's very strong momentum. Now, a lot of times traders forget to wait for momentum. And they forget how important this is. So we created the momentum indicator so they could use it as a check off a list. Okay, I have momentum, check. I need to now start looking for the next condition to exist. A lot of times we could still get indicators up in here, right? Because conditions exist. We may get a speed tick, we may get a divergence signal, we may get a ricochet, we may get something up in here. But would it qualify, would this type of market qualify for a trade setup? So we've got a lot of people that kept trying to force trades in here, and I thought, now we're just going to create this indicator here so they can say, okay, we didn't have any momentum, so there's no setup. So we're looking to understand where exhaustion is likely. The lighter these bars get, the more likely the exhaustion. All right, we also have our velocity indicator that's going to tell us that relative to the last several bars, 30 bars or so, is price moving quickly? Okay, so we're having a high velocity. Again, that's like we're not measuring anything but acceleration, like a motorcycle drag racer. Okay. And then we have our naked rockstar zones. Okay. This allows us to take trades outside of these zones without having to qualify them with support and resistance. This little stupid little tool has probably, I don't know, I haven't counted yet, but those of you that have been trading with us for a while, has it doubled our trading opportunities in the last few weeks? Maybe doubled. We're getting a lot more trading opportunities by adding another layer of confluence suggesting exhaustion. Okay? So we're reading momentum, which is the breaking out of the channel. If we're outside of that channel, then exhaustion is likely and we'll be dropping back into the channel. Okay, so that's our naked rockstar zone indicator. Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of people buy this directly off the website because it's probably one of the best support and resistance, and there's really nothing special about it. We use floor trader pivots, and we also use mid pivots, and we've included a relative strength number at the end. The higher the number, the stronger the likelihood of a reaction to this line. Okay, so we have the ability, you can color the lines any way you want. You can set the thickness. Each line, you can change the parameters of each line that you want. You can decide when it's going to update. Excuse me. This number here, I get a lot of questions about this. As soon as price runs up, see when price was down in here, this 120 was right here. Okay, as soon as price hits that bar or hits that line, that number jumps over here. That's because when I first started using this, I would see that price hit the line, and I'd look over here and I'd be like, well, I don't know what the number was. The higher the number, the more likely the reaction to the line. Okay, so I wanted the new number to be here, but I still wanted to know what the old number was if I didn't happen to be staring at price when it hit it. So this new number now is set to 1 because it's been 1 minute since the last time this bar was hit, right? But prior to that, it had been 120 minutes. That's going to be a pretty strong line. Okay, so that's how we use that. And then I told you we also include mid pivots. It's amazing how much those work. And then we have the Rockstar, our brand new fair hair child that everybody seems to love so much. And essentially all that is the speed tick, the OBOS indicator, and the Super D all inside one indicator. Now, all of the parameters for setting up the speed tick, for setting up OBOS, and for setting up the Super D are inside the Rockstar so that you can tune the Rockstar to generate a signal based on your criteria. You are not confined to doing it exactly the way we do it in the trade room. And I do that, and we offer that because the Rockstar is an exceptionally good indicator for people that are trend traders. Because it'll give you a great place to understand and identify where that trend is likely to be getting weak. Now, how weak? We don't know. But it'll give you a heads up. Could this be a potential turning point? A lot of trend traders like to use this for scaling or for getting out of their trades, just because we are able to pick up the weaknesses in the current part of the trend. Our expectation is we're just going to get a little bit of a pullback and then the trend's going to continue. And that's what we trade, that little bit of a pullback. That way we can get in and out of the markets real quick. Our trades are safer. We're less speculative. We're not open to the sharks, coming and swimming in the waters and attacking us. So we like to get in and out of trades quickly because of the safety factor and because my brain, my human brain, doesn't work very good. I get too worried and scared and nervous and panicked and whatnot. So my second brain says, well, just get out. All right. So those are the indicators. We've been at this about an hour now. You can, yeah, that's a good point, Keith. You can, number one, you can change the parameters inside the Rockstars to generate a green if it's on the bottom or a red if it's on the top. You can certainly do that. We have a new version of the Rockstar that's an upgrade that will give you the ability to, hold on, where'd that go? Let me see. Okay, remember this? See, when it opens outside the Naked Rockstar zone, watch, it printed a white star. We do get Rockstars that print inside the zone. The new version will allow you to print one color if it's inside, another color if it's outside. Okay? That's coming up in the next week or two. All right, give me just a second here. I'm going to stop. You guys want to take, while I get this set up, how about we take a quick break and a quick bathroom break. I'll set up this little training scenario thing that I have, and we'll come back to it and do some Rockstar training. All right, 5 minutes. Hey, we're not done yet. You may have missed just the first part, and you will absolutely get the recording. I'm setting up. We're gonna all taking a quick bathroom break, and I'm setting up a training little application that we have, and we're going to continue this on, and then I'll be answering questions. So you're here at a good time, and we will send you a recording of what we've done. We're not showing anything in particular, whether it's forex or futures or anything. Just showing you how to trade it. But yes, this is we do have a forex package for what we're doing here, and it works great on forex. We're futures traders in our trade room, but we have a lot of forex traders that use it for forex. I'm just not a forex trader. Yeah, Robert, I didn't have any major changes in Forex values, and I'm not a Forex trader, so it may take a little bit of trial and error. Or we can help you if you have an issue. Send it over to us in the support room or on the support desk. Praveen is our support guy, at least for the time being, and he also used to be a Forex trader. He's a reformed Forex trader. He actually upgraded to futures a long time ago. I'd be inclined not to change them very much, but they may need a little bit of tuning. If you're getting indicators that you or signals that you believe are not true, meaning that they're not indicating that a certain condition exists, we definitely need to know that. If they're not indicating at a time when you would expect they would, we need to know that, and maybe we can help you with the settings. Your Rockstar stopped working. Well, that's got to be a data issue. So, yeah, send that in to the support desk. We'll get you squared away. We'll even come onto your computer and help you out if we don't have the answers for you, we'll do a remote support session and get you working. Oh, licensing? Well, that should be squared away. I think Praveen's here. He can help you out with that if it's still not working. All right. Everybody back? Oh, almost 5 minutes. Not quite 5 minutes. A couple more minutes. I think I will. Yep. And don't let me leave, Heinz, until you're perfectly clear on it, okay? I see a lot of people typing, so I'm just waiting and I'll answer those questions, then we'll get started. Yeah, and Peter has a good point, and I'm going to talk about that. Huh, Praveen? Can you check that out? It's entirely possible, but that's the first we've heard of it. All right, so looking at this chart here, and we're all, oops, sorry. There, I just closed that so that won't happen again. All right, so looking at this scenario here, what would you expect Price to be doing next? Anybody? Anybody? What's your expectation? Why, Marshall? What makes you think price is going to increase? Oh, you're calling this a trend? Wow, I wouldn't be that bold as to call this. Yes, it's slightly up, but I would never call this a trend. Um, yes, likely to trade back into the range. Jim got it right. It's very likely to trade back into this range, so it's probably going to go down. But this is not something that we or any other traders are terribly interested in. What if, now that we know what the rock star is, whoops, heck, didn't mean to do that. What if I put this right here? What then? Well, hey, a quick learner there, Tyrone. Why? Yeah, and you're probably right, Marshall, but is that something you want to trade? Why not? No momentum. Thank you, Carlton. The very first thing that I want to use to qualify a trade setup well, that's ugly. Hold on. Give it a white outline. There. The very first thing is some momentum. Okay? We've just broken out of the channel. So now I have a little bit, I have, hold on a second. So price has basically been channeling here. And then we have a bit of momentum starting to develop. Now I get a rock star on the open of the next bar. Good trade? What? I have momentum and a rock star. Don't you just take Rockstar trade? Isn't Rockstar a trade signal generator? That way I don't have to think, right? I can remove myself from being accountable for having to make trade decisions. I love you guys. You guys are killing it. You already know. All right. So in the trade room, we're trying not to fall asleep when things like this happen. Suddenly we get one of these and it alerts us to potential. We see this Rockstar pop up, but we already know that all of our parameters are not in place for a qualified trade setup. Okay? So we have a rock star, but most of us are going to ignore that. You won't even hear me say in the trade room, oh, there's a rock star, but I'm not trading, because eventually, and in not too long, You just ignore these because they tell you a condition exists, but the conditions that exist that don't exist are too important to ignore. Okay, what about now? Make it even easier. Trade? Why not? There you go. Yeah. Okay, so today we're talking about the Rockstar trade setup. But inside every Rockstar trade setup is a speed tick. We still print these on the charts while we're trading because this gives us a heads up. You see what Peter said? Now I'm interested. Does not necessarily mean that we have a setup, but it helps us to prepare in case we get a rock star here. Okay, this happens to be what's called a speed tick setup, but we're not talking about that today. If this bar hasn't opened yet, and we're right here, come on, there, and we've got a speed tick on this bar. Okay, we're 30 seconds into this bar maybe. This bar's gotten oversold, and I have a speed tick. Do I have a trade setup? If this bar opens right here, I don't, because this is major resistance. I need, if I'm going to take a speed tick trade, which would be the same thing, but up here, if this line was right here, it's a speed tick trade. Because price has hit this line and then pulled back. Why is that important? Because that tells me that the people trading in this bar, as soon as we hit that line and pulled back, they also see this line. So I'm confirming the value of this line by waiting for price to react to it. I am never going to assume that just because there's a line printed on the chart, that that line has value. Okay? Lines have no value to me until they prove to me they have value. If price has not confirmed for me by hitting this line and stopping that this has value, then this is no trade for me. I'm not going to trade this. This is a straight up speed tick trade. Now, that has been the rule for a long time. Till we added that. Now, Tyrone, is that a trade setup? Tyrone's our newest VIP. So I'm going to pick on him a little bit because he's been studying. you're, you're guessing, though, right? Alan will tell you. Alan, why is that not a trade setup? This would be considered a naked rock star. We call this naked. It's funny how we got these names. Naked. We got these names, just people in the trade room talking, and somehow this got the name naked, and people started trading these naked, meaning there's no support or resistance behind the trade. It's too far away. You'd get stopped out before this line offered you any help. Like I was just talking about, that confirmation. We have traders that started trading these long before it became an official trade setup for us. It took me a long time to study it and determine that we had a really good edge anyway. So this would be considered a naked rock star, which for me doesn't qualify for two reasons. One, it doesn't have resistance behind the trade that I've already qualified as having value to the traders that are currently trading. And I'm not far enough outside of this zone, the tips of these arrows, to anticipate an extremely strong sense of exhaustion. Okay? This is our brand new indicator called the Naked Rockstar Zone, NRS zone. If this bar opens outside of that zone, now we have an opportunity. And we're going to make it even easier. When we release the upgrade, it's going to have the ability to change colors if it's outside the zone. Now you say, okay, well, why will we need the zone? Why do we need that speed tick? Why do we need that OBOS? If everything is inside of this indicator, why do we need all of these things? Right? Some of you are asking yourself that. Because if you're just sitting there and you don't have any heads up that any of this is about to happen, when this pops up, you have to be ready to trade. This is it, Kent. This is the video. This is the tutorial. It's a brand new indicator, so we'll be adding more things. You need these other indicators. Even though this Rockstar has these indicators inside of it to generate this signal here, they do not, the ones that are inside the Rockstar, do not print on the chart. So I still want to have the Mo meter. I still want to have the OBOS. I still want to see the speed tick. I still want to see the Naked Rockstar zone so that I can anticipate the open of this bar. You'll hear me in the trade room say, okay, I'm watching before this bar opens. You'll hear me saying, oh, okay, everybody, I have my attention on this instrument because we have strong momentum, it's overbought, and I have a speed tick, and we're outside the zones. So it has my attention. And if I have time, I'll say, if the next bar opens with a rock star, I'm going to short it. Okay, because it happens really fast. That bar opens, this bar prints, but I'm ready. My finger's on the trigger. I already know I'm going to take that trade if that exists because I've qualified it. I've got a breakout, momentum, strong potential for exhaustion, a naked rock star because it's outside of this zone, and I'm going to sell it right here. Now, that's going to be a little less conservative than if you waited for this. This is going to be a more conservative trade setup. The close of the bar does not matter. It's where the open of the bar is, Jack. Why does, because this is where my decision is made. I can be ready at the close of this bar, but it's not uncommon that it closes here and then it open maybe on the line. Right? So my decision would be different here than it would be here. Wouldn't what be the same? Open and close? No, not ever. No, you can close at one price level and open at another one all the time. Go look at a 1 minute chart. You'll see it happen a lot. So my decision is always on the open of the bar. The decision is different here. Okay, so let's take this out of the equation because we're not going to, for a straight up rock star, I'll even put it up here. Okay. These are intended for the naked rock star. Okay. This is not a naked rock star trade. This is a rock star trade. Okay. Why? Why is that? Why is this a rock star trade and not a naked rock star trade? Because of this line of resistance behind my trade. Right? I'm not worried about whether I have that extra potential for exhaustion. I don't need these to qualify this. Okay? If this happened here, I don't care. It's fine. It's still a rock star trade. Although, if you want to be a little bit more conservative, which I recommend, you can't be too conservative in trading as far as I'm concerned. You might want to wait until it's outside the zones also. Now, okay, I'm going to answer your question there, Larry. Remember when I said that this resistance has got to prove to me that it has value. I want to confirm that this line has value. How do I do that? I wait until this bar comes up. It can test the other side. That's no problem. It can test the other side. And then pull back and open below. Okay. So what that tells me then is that I have a line that has confirmed to me it has value to the people that are currently trading. Price slammed into it, tested the other side, came back, opened below. I'm going to enter this trade because of this line. It's my safety net. It's in case price wants to keep trying to push up. I'm hoping, the hopes are, and has proven to be the case, that this line has a good chance of helping us from getting stopped out if the trade wants to go against us. Okay, if price is still pushing up a little bit, this line will help to keep it down, or that's the assumption based on the fact that we've confirmed that this line has value and people are respecting it. All right. Now, what happens if it opened? I'm going to change the color so you can see it a little bit better. You can't see it much better. What if it opens right here? Now tell me what the difference is. And what do we call that trade? Naked Rockstar. Thank you very much. It's naked because there's no resistance behind the trade. Even though I open on the line, there's no resistance behind me to help push it back in my favor. That line is now out of play. It's just like it's not even there. Well, this right now, when this bar hit, that 120 would move to the right, and this one would turn to a 0. Yes, and that's why this moves to the right, because this number is still very important to me in making this trade decision, particularly as a conservative trader. So, Dwayne, you're absolutely right, and you would want to put that in your trade rules that maybe if you want to be conservative, you say, okay, I only take rock stars with resistance behind it that have a number of 120 or higher. You're going to take a lot fewer trades, but they're going to be a lot higher probability. That's the thing with taking conservative versus less conservative. You're going to take a lot fewer trades that are extremely conservative. That's why they're conservative. Um, and you may miss a lot of good opportunities, but the ones you do get have a higher probability of being winning trades. So there's no way to increase the number of trades you take or able to take and not increase a little bit of the risk involved in taking that trade. Okay? So if this trade were if this set up like this and my naked rockstar zones are here, well, that's, oh, there. Then what? I short, long, no trade. What about that? Uh-oh. Why no? The naked rockstar, yeah, exactly. It opened out of the zone. We're outside the zone, so we short it here. This qualifies as a. I know it's Saturday. I got to retrain you every Monday, right? This qualifies because one of two different conditions exists. Either this bar has to be overbought, or we have a pullback alert on this bar. One of those two conditions needs to exist to help us qualify it as being a high potential for exhaustion. Exhaustion means that the sellers have more strength than the buyers. Not that the instrument has become exhausted. In that case, you would expect to see something like this. It's that the buyers have become exhausted. That's the exhaustion I'm talking about. If How about now? I just told you the answer. Right. Either one or the other, Marshall. If it wasn't Obos, but I had the pullback alert, go for it. Right? Either one or the other or both. And really all that is the numbers don't mean anything. They're just to help you identify what type or what threshold inside the indicator. So if you want to go inside the indicator, it's easy to identify which parameters you're changing or whatever. It doesn't mean anything other than helps you identify the type. You'll notice if you look inside the indicator, there's 5 different parameters for generating a signal. We only use 3 of them. It does, but you can turn it on and off. You don't have to use Obos inside the indicator. That's a good catch there, Robert. You don't have to use it inside the indicator. So if we have it turned off, then you would never get a signal here. So for this, or turned on, sorry, no, turned off. All right. So I'm going to come back to this and answer questions. But before we do that, let me stop. Be right back. Where'd that go? Huh. Let's take a look at our special offer. We had a number of people take advantage of that today. The first of one, we're going to make it easy for those of you that that like some of the indicators. Maybe you're perfectly happy trading the system that you just want to add some of our indicators. We're going to give you a 10% discount on pretty much anything in the store. For those of you that are really ready to kind of take the bull by the horns and invest in making this your future in trading, we've got the VIP bundle package. VIP is by far our most popular package. We call it our one and done. There's really nothing else to buy. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you full ownership of all the trade room indicators. It's not a lease. Once you have a license, that's it. You don't have to buy anything ever again. Full ownership of all future trade room indicators. For example, the Naked Rockstar indicator just came out, and all of the VIPs got it for free. Our Essential Add-on Suite subscription for NinjaTrader, which is brand new, hasn't been released yet, but our VIPs already have it. The Market Replay Data Downloader subscription, for those of you that like to use the replay, whether it's NinjaTrader 7 or 8, that we have a subscription that you can download. We can use that downloader at marketreplaydata.com. You can use it for free. Unlimited fast forward training program. Unlimited AHA group mentoring every week. Unlimited trade room access. Priority tech support. Our replay of our daily trade room videos that we do every day. If you require, we'll come onto your computer and give you remote installation and setup of not just our indicators, but we have a lot of people that are switching over from NinjaTrader 7 to 8 will help you with that. We usually do this for $5,250. We got a special for $4,700 for you guys. A lot of people that do this special like to do the PayPal. We did have first 5 on Thursday, but we're down to only 2 now. So we got 2 more of these left at the 4,200, and then it reverts back to 4,700, which is still an awesome special. So that's the our special. Do we have any questions about that? Excuse me. And I'll take questions about anything right now. Actually, if you take them both, Alan, it'll make you twice better trader than you are now. You've been doing pretty good lately. I've noticed a change lately. You seem to be kind of hitting your stride. Thanks. Good. Good. Tyrone, send us a support request and Praveen will square your way. They are actually, Larry, not standard NinjaTrader indicators. We've actually pushed the limit to what NinjaTrader can do. In order to do some of the things we do, we had to create our own plots. NinjaTrader was not plotting fast enough for us, so we created our own plots, which means you cannot use them in a strategy, a NinjaTrader strategy, not in the strategy builder. You can have a programmer custom program using our plots. NinjaTrader Strategy Builder only uses their plots, and their plots were insufficient for us. Yeah, that's interesting, Jorge. We've actually had somebody else telling us that, so we're going to look into that. But send us a support request, and we'll get you squared away. Kent, I actually don't have NinjaTrader on this computer. That's on my trading computer, and I don't use the same computer. So I can't do that, but we can help you. Send that in to support, and we'll get right on that. Larry, if you, I'm not sure because we don't have a lot of the technical stuff for document because most traders don't want it. But tell us what you need, and I'll send it to my programmer and make sure that we give you what you need. Well, Graham, that's what most of those indicators that I was showing you do. They give you a heads up that exhaustion is setting in, particularly the pullback alert. And Obos is probably one of our best indicators out there. As soon as it gets overbought or oversold, you can anticipate exhaustion to set in. Yeah, that's a good idea, Larry. I agree with that. Keith, time charts. Okay. Tick charts also keep track of time, and I don't have a big problem with tick charts because they're very similar to time charts. So between tick and time are fine. Are you asking about a Renko or a range or some sort of a hybrid chart? Yeah, I hate them. The world runs on time. Traders trade on time. What traders think about price at one time versus another time, the same price, is important. Time is not noise. Time is exceptionally valuable in understanding how and why people are thinking what they're thinking. We live in a linear world where one thing happens after another after another. And if you're using time to, if we're looking at history, right, and we want to build our indicators and our trade setups based on what has historically worked well. History is time-based. Remove the whole idea that time is noise, I think is very nice if you want to look at very clean, neat, orderly charts. But time is a crucial measurement inside of trading that I couldn't live without. That's awesome to hear. I don't use Heikin Ashi either. And I'm not even that familiar with the Heikin Ashi bars, to be honest with you. I haven't used them much. So that's why I'm a big proponent on time trading, because that's the way the world works. That's the way that trading should work, and why you would think that it would work better without time, I don't know. Maybe it does. And I know that people that like to use range bars and Rinkos and hybrids and maybe Heikin Ashi, they swear by it. But I've not personally met people that have used them very successfully, or at least individually, maybe as an indicator, or as a something as a confirmation type of a bar, but still using a time-based chart to make the ultimate decision. No, in fact, there is no Bloodhound for NinjaTrader 8, and the Rockstar and Rockstar Zone, Naked Rockstar Zone, is only for NinjaTrader 8. Yeah, Bob was going to do some testing on that. I think there's a beta version of Bloodhound for NinjaTrader 8 out. Oh, okay. All right. We have any other questions? I'm hoping that that description and that trade setup training, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. I'm hoping that kind of covered everything, at least the basics of it. The thing is you learn the basics and then you get really good at it by practicing. That's why we built the Fast Forward program and the call it accelerated learning program, because you can actually optimize your time and only trade, not sit in the trade room or just sit in trading waiting for the opportunities to present themselves. You can learn this much more efficiently and quickly by using our Fast Forward program. And in fact, you can trade and practice trading in the evenings. A lot of people, and we created the Fast Forward program really for people that work during the day, during the trading day, but they still want to learn this so that they can kind of ease out of the work thing. So we give you the ability to actually trade along with the trade room, but do it later at night when when you have time. No more questions? Gosh, is it time to go start the weekend? All right. Well, we've only got two of the specials left at the lower price, and then it kicks into the little bit higher price. So please take advantage of that. If you're thinking about it, that's as good as it's going to get. If you got any questions, go ahead and hit us up at the support desk, and we'll get right back to you. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. Have a great weekend. Maybe I'll join the private beta by going to the Shark Indicators forum requesting it, but really, Bloodhound 8 is far from being useful on custom vendors code. Okay. All right. Thanks, Bob. Great. Well, good. I'm glad it was helpful for you guys. Everybody have a good weekend, and hopefully we'll see you all Monday. Bye now.